The plane door hadn't even closed when Captain Richard Hall's voice boomed from the cockpit. "Ma'am, this section is for business class passengers only," he said sharply, eyeing the tall black woman arranging her bag in the overhead bin. She looked up, calm but surprised. "I am in business class," she replied, showing her ticket. Richard frowned. "I think you're mistaken. Maybe economy." A few passengers nearby turned to stare. Whispers followed. The woman's jaw tightened. "My seat is 3A, she said quietly, holding her ground. "Ma'am," he cut in. "We have procedures for a reason. Please don't make this difficult." The flight attendant hesitated, glancing nervously between them. The woman finally spoke again, her tone cool but steady. "You don't have to worry, Captain. I know exactly where I belong." Richard rolled his eyes and walked off, completely unaware that by the time this plane landed, his career would never be the same. The flight took off in tense silence. Richard kept his mind on autopilot checks and flight paths, but the image of the woman in 3A lingered. She sat perfectly still, her posture dignified, her expression unreadable. A silk scarf framed her face, and a leather folder rested on her lap. Something about her composure irritated him, like she didn't care about his authority. "Entitled types," he muttered under his breath as he adjusted the controls. 30 minutes later, the seatbelt sign went off. Richard stepped out to greet the passengers, a habit he reserved for high-value flights. He forced a smile as he passed each row, until he reached 3A again. The woman, now sipping tea, looked up at him with calm eyes. "Everything all right, Captain?" "Fine," he said curtly. "Just checking in." Her lips curved slightly. "Good. I'd hate for my airline to have any issues." Richard blinked. "My airline?" He brushed it off as sarcasm. "Of course, we take customer satisfaction very seriously." As he walked back, the flight attendant, Melissa, intercepted him. "Captain, maybe take it easy with her," she whispered. "She's not what?" Richard interrupted. Melissa hesitated. "She's someone important." Richard scoffed. "Everyone thinks they're important when they buy a business class ticket. Let's focus on getting to London on time." But hours later, when turbulence hit and the cabin lights flickered, it was that same woman who stood up, not panicking, not complaining, but helping calm other passengers. She reassured a frightened elderly couple, held a child's hand, and even helped the crew with translation for a foreign passenger. Richard watched from the cockpit camera feed, confused. She wasn't just composed, she was trained, professional, almost like she'd done this before. When the flight landed, he decided to confront her one last time, if only to clarify her earlier remark. He didn't like being challenged on his own plane. As passengers began to deboard, she gathered her things and turned toward the exit. He stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "just for the record, I hope you understand that what happened earlier wasn't personal. We have rules to maintain order." She regarded him silently, her eyes scanning his face. Then she said softly, "You seem to confuse rules with prejudice, Captain, but don't worry, your mistake won't go unnoticed." Her tone wasn't angry, just disappointingly calm. That unnerved him more than any argument could have. 2 days later, Richard was summoned to corporate headquarters. He arrived in full uniform, unsure why. A woman from HR met him at the door. "Captain Hall, please follow me. The board chair would like to speak with you." Board chair. His stomach sank. The glass elevator climbed to the 40th floor, opening into a grand conference room overlooking the city. And there she was, the same woman from 3A. She was dressed in a tailored white suit now, standing confidently at the head of the table. "Good morning, Captain Hall," she said smoothly. "I believe we've met." His face drained of color. You're, she nodded. "Amara Cole, founder and majority owner of Skyvista Airlines." He froze. The words barely made sense. "Owner." Amara motioned for him to sit. "I reviewed the in-flight report and cabin footage. I saw how you spoke to me before the flight even began." He swallowed hard. "Miss Cole." She raised a hand gently. "Please, you don't need to explain. I know what I saw and what your crew saw. What I want to know is why." Richard's voice trembled. "I thought you were maybe in the wrong section. I didn't mean to disrespect you." Her eyes softened slightly. "But you did, and not just me. You reminded everyone watching that bias still boards flights, still wears uniforms, still commands authority." The room fell silent. Richard lowered his head. "I was wrong. I judged you without reason." Amara studied him for a long moment. "Do you have a daughter, Captain Hall?" He looked up, surprised. "Yes." "Then I hope you'll remember this moment the next time someone looks at them and assumes they don't belong somewhere." She closed her folder and stood. "You're suspended for 2 weeks with pay. I'm not here to destroy your career. I just want you to think about what it means to truly lead." That night, Richard sat in his car outside his home, staring at his reflection in the windshield. He replayed the scene in his mind the way Amara had stayed calm, even when he'd embarrassed her in front of everyone. She had every right to humiliate him in return. Instead, she chose Grace.com. The next morning, he wrote a letter, not an official one, just a note. Dear Ms. Cole, thank you for teaching me something no flight manual ever could. Leadership starts with respect, not rank. I won't forget that. Weeks later, when he returned to duty, a small card waited in his locker. It read, Welcome back, Captain Hall. Let's make sure every passenger feels like they belong. Ah, Kohozigu. He smiled faintly, folded the card, and slipped it into his chest pocket. As the engines roared to life and the plane lifted into the sky, Richard glanced at the empty seat beside him, visible on the cabin monitor. He imagined Amara sitting there, calm as ever. He spoke softly to himself, almost like a vow. No more judging by faces, only by hearts. Because that day, he learned the hardest truth of all. Some people you look down on are the ones flying far above you. Moral: hate blinds us. Humility opens our eyes. We're all passengers on the same journey. Only kindness keeps us in the air.